So I've been asked to do this topic quite a few times, and I've been interested in seeing what's going on here myself. So that's where we're at. So I did some digging, and the name Bluebook is from the project Bluebook, which was started by the Air Force. Basically, it was a study that was done on all of the unidentified flying objects that got reported in a certain span of time. There were over 12,000 sightings, 95% of these were cleared, and around 5% was still left with no real answer to what they were. The name Bluebook itself comes from the Bluebook exam that you will see in school. Reason being is because they were so invested in the project that they treated it like they were taking a final exam. Later on down the road, this got the attention of the CIA, who then recommended a panel of scientists to do even more investigations. What's the deal with all these UFO sightings, and where are they coming from? Mainly, are they extraterrestrial or alien, so to speak? As for the panel, their research fell through, of course, but that was the general idea. So there's a couple of things to look at here, and we'll start off with our prime subject, the last crypter, David. If you take a look at his profile, it tells you that David is from Nevada. And as you all know, Area 51 is also located in Nevada. It's basically outright saying that he has some type of ties to the situation. Now, there's been some theories floating around on whether or not David Bluebook is in some shape or form David. Their names even sound the same. David. And at first, I was kind of skeptical until I remembered who David said he was. When you think back to his background, he was talking about how he had this condition where he could remember things vividly. And I do mean anything, step by step, from front to back. And it always frustrated him throughout his lifetime. Because of this, he moved out of the city, basically becoming what we would consider a hermit. Now again, if you look at David's profile, one of the huge things about his character is that he's unsociable. He's extremely intelligent. He has extremely high potential, rivaling even Wodame, to let you know how far that goes, but he's unsociable. It doesn't say why or what happened, but that's where he ends up. Then there's the existence of ORT. If you remember the trailer of them going over the South American Lost Belt, and it showed the actual shadow of ORT in the trailer, or at least what's perceived to be ORT. And for some reason, David, the way that he's presenting himself, it doesn't seem like he's afraid of ORT. Now, to put that into perspective, Zelrech was terrified of ORT. It only took ORT coming up one time for him to be like, whoa, ORT? Oh, hell no. We can't fight that for at least another 100 years. Like, he was not into the idea at all. Yet David seems unbothered. There's a situation with Marsberry's supposed death. Can we relish in the moment at how tough Marsberry must be? I have never seen somebody so excited to get shot. Are you okay, sir? We still don't know who that shooter is. This also looks similar to David. We don't even know if Marsberry truly died. I mean, they found a loophole for his daughter dying. Maybe the same thing happened to him. All we know is it showed the person come in the room, they had a gun, Marsberry grabbed the gun, the scene ends. Then there's David Bluebook's dialogue. So to me, it comes off as if something might have been hibernating in his body, because when he describes his human aspects, it's completely normal. You know, he talks about how he was malnourished on his way to Area 51. He hasn't had food or water in multiple days. He's running out of resources. Completely normal stuff. But when he gets to describing the end of the world itself, it's very desensitized. Like, I'm not gonna say that he's not afraid at all, but he's not going crazy from being one of the final people that's left. Through all of the things that's going on, he's only more intrigued. That part I find to be very inhuman. There's also a big part of his life that appears to be completely missing. When he goes into his backstory, he tells you about the beginning of his life, he tells you about the end of his life, which is now, but there's nothing really in the middle. It's blank. He doesn't tell you what he did for a living, how he made his income prior to the bleaching, and usually when a person goes into that type of backstory, that's something that's liable to come up. Oh, I used to be an engineer for this place, and then all of a sudden this happened. I can't believe it. But he purposely doesn't go into anything like that. Between David's profile, the name similarities, David Bluebook being one of the only people that survived on Earth, what a coincidence, the weird dialogue. The mysterious guy that shot him, who also knew that he was already coming. I think the reasons to believe that David himself being inhuman aren't unfounded. When he talked about the skies that appeared over the Lost Belt and how they changed and they weren't the same as they used to be. How do you know that? If the entire world is bleached, that means that there is no communications. There's no TV, there's no phone, there's no radio, and he's one of the only ones left. So how would you know what's going on in foreign countries if you're in the States? It would be more like the older days where you had to actually visit the place to really know what's going on. Hell, you still have to do that now with all of the propaganda, but even more so in the less evolved times. The only way that that makes sense is if he's talking in retrospect, because he did talk about how humanity fought to its last breath before everything went to ruin. I feel that his condition, the hyperthymesia that allows him to vividly remember, is a very powerful tool in the hands of the right person. Somebody may have used him in the past, preferably in that portion of life that he really didn't go into, and then completely erase what happened. And that person may have also been the shooter, which would explain why he already knew that he was coming. There's always been two sides to Area 51. There's the historical side, Edwards Air Force Base, where they're constantly doing things like testing out their new equipment. And then there's the more exaggerated side, Area 51 itself, which is them looking for UFOs, aliens, research on otherworldly technology, things of that nature. David Bluebook's entire goal since the time that we've seen him is to get over into Area 51 to see if they really had an alien inside. He gets over there, he finds some documentation, he discovers that there is an alien, specimen E, that they've been working on and torturing and tampering with for several years to try to get something out of it. At first it was to help humanity, then it became a thing where if we tamper with it enough, maybe he'll bring friends and we can dissect them too. So that's what they did. They melted his body, froze his body, cut him, filled him up with every medicine known to man, and he eventually called for help. David Bluebook gets in there, he sees the remnants of Specimen E, and then to the other side, this mysterious guy pulls the piece out on him and blows him down. We don't even know if David actually died, and that's just the assumption. But this mysterious man, he has one of the weirdest designs. The design itself implies that he's alien because it has like this cosmic aura, like it's something of the cosmos entirely. Or if you look at it another way, it kind of looks like something that's been burned or a tree shedding. The gun in his hand looks as if it's radiating. That may have just been a design choice. That could be a hint at something else too. So if the real world history is anything to go by, David Bluebook could have been part of the Air Force or have some type of ties to it, some type of ties to the CIA. Hard to say at this point because everything is so spread out. There was some speculation around the void in David's name, David Sim Void. I don't know about all that, but if I had to pull anything from that, looking at David Bluebook, there is a part that caught my attention when he was going into the room with Specimen E, and he talked about how the hallway felt as if it was alive, like it was pulsating. And from the way that he made it sound, that whole area is like walking into another dimension almost. At least that's the way he made it sound. When he first got there, he said that the power was off, and it took him several days to find that room. That lets you know how big the facility is, first of all. But he said that the power was off, yet you get to the room with Specimen E and the power is just fine. So which one is it? And I feel like that too has something to do with that area. To circle back to the void thing, that room could be a void of space that's cut off from the rest of the world. He even mentioned when he got to Area 51 that it started raining. Nowhere else in the world it's allowed to rain, but Area 51 is somehow one of the places that completely missed the bleaching. Pretty convenient. How did he know where he was going? If everything is blanked out, then he wouldn't even be able to tell if he was heading in the right direction. He also said there's no more nights. It's kind of like when you go to certain parts of the world and the sun doesn't set, it just dips. How does he know where he is and where Area 51 is located?